The first lie Daniel Mercer ever believed was spoken by a priest with silver eyebrows and a trembling voice. "Faith," Father Alden had whispered, "is stronger than fear." Daniel was 9 years old then, standing inside the cold stone church of Blackwater Parish, while rain hammered the stained glass windows like angry fists. Outside, the town drowned beneath a storm that had lasted 7 days. Inside, candles flickered beneath painted saints whose eyes seemed too human to belong to heaven. Daniel remembered staring at those saints and wondering why holy people always looked sad. Years later, long after Father Alden was buried beneath cracked marble and forgotten prayers, Daniel would realize the priest had been wrong. Fear was stronger. Fear built kingdoms. Fear created religions. Fear made ordinary people kneel, and sometimes fear wore the face of God. By the age of 34, Daniel Mercer had become famous for asking dangerous questions. He was a historian, essayist, and public intellectual whose books examined the hidden machinery beneath belief systems. Newspapers called him brilliant. Religious leaders called him poisonous. Students quoted him online with worshipful obsession. Daniel hated all of them equally. On a gray October morning, he arrived in the ancient city of Vespera, carrying nothing except a leather suitcase and a notebook filled with unfinished thoughts. Vespera was unlike any place he had seen. Thousands of narrow streets twisted like veins through the city. Minarets rose beside cathedrals. Temples stood beside marketplaces. Bells and prayers collided in the air from dawn until midnight. People in Vespera believed different things, but they feared the same thing: the silence after death. A driver named Elias picked him up from the station. "You came for the archive?" Elias asked while steering through crowded streets. Daniel looked outside. An old woman burned incense beside a fountain. A group of boys chased pigeons through prayer smoke. Giant murals of prophets covered entire buildings. "I came for research," Daniel replied. Elias laughed softly. "That's what everyone says before the city changes them." Daniel ignored the comment. People always talked about cities as if they were alive. Cities were not alive. People were, and people lied. The Archive of Sacred Histories stood on a hill above Vespera, like a fortress guarding secrets too heavy for ordinary minds. Massive iron gates opened toward a courtyard lined with black statues of forgotten philosophers. Daniel met the curator that evening. Her name was Evelyn Cross. She wore dark clothing, spoke carefully, and possessed the unsettling habit of looking directly into people's eyes for too long. "You wrote The Kingdom of Fear," she said, while leading him through endless corridors filled with ancient manuscripts. "I did. My brother burned that book," Daniel smirked. "Only one copy?" Evelyn's lips almost formed a smile. "You enjoy provoking believers." "No," Daniel replied. "I enjoy watching people defend stories they inherited without questioning." They stopped before a locked wooden door. Evelyn removed an iron key from her pocket. "The restricted wing," she said quietly. Daniel noticed hesitation in her voice. "What's inside?" "Texts most governments tried to erase." The door opened. Dust and silence greeted them. Thousands of books rested in towering shelves beneath dim yellow lamps. Some books were chained. Others were sealed inside glass boxes. Daniel felt an unexpected chill. "Why preserve them?" he asked. Evelyn walked deeper into the room. "Because dangerous ideas never truly disappear." She paused beside a table. "They simply wait for new believers." Daniel spent the next weeks studying forgotten religions, failed prophecies, and revolutionary doctrines buried beneath history. He read about kings who declared themselves divine. He read about cults predicting the end of the world. He read about holy wars fought over interpretations of a single sentence. The deeper he explored, the more one pattern emerged. Every civilization built stories to survive chaos. Some stories became religions. Some became nations. some became prisons. One night, while searching through untranslated manuscripts, Daniel discovered a thin black journal hidden behind larger books. No title, no author, no date. Inside, the handwriting was elegant and unsettling. The first line read, "Every god humanity created was born from loneliness." Daniel felt something tighten inside his chest. He continued reading. The journal described an ancient sect known as the Witnesses of the Veil, philosophers who believed heaven and hell were psychological states created by collective belief. According to the text, reality itself could bend beneath enough human conviction. Daniel almost laughed. The theory sounded absurd, yet he kept reading. Hours passed unnoticed. At dawn, he found the final page. "Beware the city beneath the city," it warned, "where faith becomes architecture." A cold breeze moved through the room. Daniel looked up. The lamps flickered, and for one impossible second, he thought he heard distant voices whispering beneath the floor. Daniel stopped sleeping properly after discovering the journal. Every night, strange dreams dragged him through endless corridors beneath Vespera. In the dreams, faceless crowds walked silently through underground temples, while unseen choirs sang in forgotten languages. And always, somewhere in the darkness, a voice repeated the same sentence, "Belief shapes the walls." When Daniel awoke, the words remained inside his mind like poison. He blamed exhaustion, nothing more. One evening, he confronted Evelyn inside the archive courtyard. "You knew about the journal." She did not deny it. Moonlight silvered the ancient statues around them. "Yes. What is the city beneath the city?" Evelyn looked toward the distant skyline. "Most people think Vespera was built above old ruins. And they're wrong." Daniel waited. The ruins were built afterward. For the first time since arriving in Vespera, Daniel felt genuine unease. That sentence makes no sense. Not yet. Evelyn led him through narrow alleys illuminated by hanging lanterns. The deeper they traveled, the quieter the city became. Finally, they reached an abandoned bathhouse hidden between collapsing buildings. Evelyn pushed aside broken stone. A staircase descended into darkness. "You're serious," Daniel murmured. "Unfortunately." They walked downward. The air grew colder. Far below the streets of Vespera, tunnels spread beneath the city like arteries. Daniel expected ruins. Instead, he found something impossible. An underground cathedral stretched before them, vast enough to contain an entire district. Thousands of pillars vanished into shadows above. Candles burned despite the absence of servants. Massive murals covered the walls. The murals changed depending on where Daniel looked. At first they depicted angels, then prophets, then monstrous creatures with human faces. "What is this place?" Daniel whispered. Evelyn's voice echoed softly. "The oldest structure in Vespera." "Who built it?" "No one knows." They crossed a bridge above black water. Daniel noticed symbols carved into the stone floor. Some resembled religious iconography, others resembled mathematical equations. Faith and logic intertwined, as though someone long ago had tried to merge science with divinity. "This place shouldn't exist," Daniel said. Evelyn stopped walking. "That depends on what you believe reality is." Daniel grew irritated. "Stop speaking like a philosopher and explain." For a moment, silence lingered between them. Then, Evelyn finally spoke. "Centuries ago, Vespera became a refuge for persecuted thinkers, prophets, mystics, and scientists. They gathered beneath the city, searching for a universal truth. And they discovered something terrifying." Daniel crossed his arms. "Which was?" "That human belief changes perception more deeply than anyone understood." He laughed quietly. "That's psychology." "No." Evelyn looked directly at him. It's architecture. Before Daniel could respond, distant chanting echoed through the cathedral. He froze. Figures carrying candles emerged from the darkness, dozens of them, men and women dressed in gray robes. Their faces were calm, almost peaceful. "Who are they?" Daniel whispered. "The keepers. Religious extremists?" "They would say protectors." The chanting intensified. Daniel noticed symbols painted on the keepers' foreheads, circles within circles. A woman approached them. She was elderly, thin, and blind in one eye. "You brought the skeptic," she said to Evelyn. "He deserved the truth." The woman turned toward Daniel. "You wrote the faith is organized fear." "I did." "And now?" Daniel frowned. "I still believe it." The woman smiled sadly. "That is because you mistake corrupted religion for belief itself." Daniel felt frustration rising. Religion has started wars, justified cruelty, and manipulated civilizations. Yes, then what exactly are you defending? The woman pointed upward. "The human need to search beyond emptiness." Her voice became softer. "Without belief, humanity survives biologically, but dies spiritually." Daniel wanted to argue, yet something stopped him. Because beneath the cathedral, surrounded by impossible architecture and ancient silence, he suddenly realized his certainty was weakening, and uncertainty frightened him more than religion ever had. Over the following days, Daniel became obsessed with the underground cathedral. He returned repeatedly, sometimes with Evelyn, sometimes alone. The keepers tolerated his presence cautiously. They answered few questions directly. Instead, they spoke in fragments. Civilizations collapse when meaning collapses. Every empire worships something. Modern society replaced gods with consumption. Daniel dismissed much of it as intellectual mysticism, yet certain ideas haunted him, especially one. What if belief itself was humanity's most powerful invention? Not religion, belief. Faith in justice, faith in nations, faith in money, faith in identity, faith in tomorrow. Entire civilizations functioned because enough people collectively agreed upon invisible systems. Perhaps the keepers